welcome to another week on RTO with Ian. We're going to have a nice gentle start this week. We're going to ease into this week. We'll be looking at the solo albums of David Gates, who was more famous in Bread, but he did a solo career as well. He never really made a bad album. You got to remember all these were made in the 70s and there was one in the 90s, so it's going to have that. They're always going to have that 70s feel to them, but they are very good albums. If you like Bread, you're going to like this, because this is, you know, David Gates was one of the forces in Bread, and he's always had at least a couple of the guys from Bread playing on his solo albums. So he released 6 albums in all. He's still with us. He's now in his 80s. He's David Gates. Terrific songwriter. Wrote some really good songs. I think Bread, David Gates, are very underrated. They're as good as the Eagles, I think. And you know, I've love Bread, and I love David Gates' stuff as well, because it's just so relaxing and chilled out. So let's have a look at his solo career. So coming in at number 6, we have his 5th album, released in 1981, Take Me Now. On here we've got obviously David Gates. He plays lots of instruments and sings. Hadley Hocksmith on lead guitar. Larry Ketchtel from Bread plays guitar on this. Paul Liam on drums on some of them. Mike Botts, he was in Bread as well. Craig Gates, what did that say, relation. Tom Scott on saxo. Chuck Finley on flugelhorn, and Dick Hyde on bass trumpet. First track is a track called It's You. This is a nice upbeat track, good start to the album. Got some nice guitar work in here. You can tell who's playing the guitar. It's got that very Bread sound to it, and the keyboards is pretty good because it's Larry. So pretty good. Take Me Now. This isn't too bad. This is a strings song. It's a little bit flat for me. Not one of David's best. She's a Heartbreaker. Great track. Solid track. It could have been done by Bread. That's one of them sort of tracks. This Could Be Forever. Some great saxophone in this, but it's one of the weaker tracks on the album. Come Home from Christmas for Christmas. This is a typical David Gates song. Very, very good. Still in Love. Not my cup of tea. It's time to get the bucket out and pass it around. Vanity. Pretty good song again. Got excellent guitar solo in this. Some lovely guitar playing. Then we get my favourite track on the album, 19 on the Richter scale. One thing you can guarantee on a Bread David Gates album, you're going to get at least one really rocking track, and this is it on this one, and it's a really good one. Great guitar work, great drumming, pretty cool track. Lady Valentine, some nice piano here from Larry. Very good keyboard, this is Larry. Had that distinctive sound with Bread, and it's pretty cool. The last track, What If You Say, solid track, some nice bit of a rocker again, pretty cool. This album, it's not too bad. It's a number 6 for a reason, because it's got a couple of tracks on there that I'm not particularly keen on, but the rest of the tracks are pretty solid. So I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 5, go to 1979 for the 4th solo album, Falling in Love Again. This features David Gates, Dan Dungmore, David Miner, Hadley Hockensmith again, Jim Horn, Larry Ketchell, Mike Botts and Robin Williamson. Can I Call You? Really strong opening to the album again. Nice guitar work, some nice funky sounds, solid drumming from Mike Botts, solid track. Where Does the Loving Go? This could have appeared on a Bread album very easily. There's no much difference between this and a Bread song. It's very, very good track. But then when you've got Larry and Mike from Bread, you're not going to go too far wrong. 20th Century Man, love this track. Some great guitar work on this. An excellent vocal from David Gates. Really strong singing on that one, pretty good. She Was So Young. Again, this is classic Bread to me. There's not much difference in it. It's pretty good. Silky, nice keyboards here from Larry. Apart from that though, it's not particularly good. I don't like the arrangement, but I do like the keyboard work in this one. Falling in Love Again, the title track, great track. It's got a really good guitar solo in it again, brilliant. Starship Ride, great track. This reminds me of another song that we will talk about a bit later because they're very, very similar in the arrangement. Chingo, this is very more country rock. It's very in vein with the Eagles sort of sound. It's a pretty good track as well. Sweet Desire, solid track, rock track here. One of the rockers on the album, pretty good. Rainbow Song, another great song. It's one of those songs where it's got a catchy hook, some interesting lyrics. David did write about life in general and things that have happened, probably to him or someone he knows. Really, really good song. Good way to end the album. Again, another good album. Solid. There's only a couple of tracks on there that are not the best, but it's still a good album to listen to. So I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 7.3. Okay then, coming in at number 4, we've got the third album, released in 1978, Goodbye Girl. Now, this album is sort of split between 5 new tracks and a lot of tracks that come off the first 2 albums. But I'm not going to talk about them because we're going to be talking about them later. So I'm going to talk about on this album the original tracks. You've got David Gates on here, Dean Parks, Mike Botts, Larry Ketchell, Dan Dungmore and David Linley, who plays fiddle. First track is the title track, Goodbye Girl. Great track. One of my favourite David Gates tracks on his solo. Great arrangements, fantastic song. Took the Last Train, catchy tune again, very good melody, with a great saxophone solo on it, brilliant. Overnight Sensation, it's one of them piano and singer songs. It's fantastic. David Gates actually plays the piano on this. It's just brilliant song. Californian Lady, this is a rocker, one of the best rockers he did. He's got some great drumming here from Mike Botts, solid track. Drifter, another great track. Love the arrangement of this again. Some of the guitar work on here is pretty cool as well. And then He Don't Know How to Love, really good track. Okay, as I said, this album has got a lot of stuff off the first 2 albums, but when you put it together with these tracks and some of my favourite tracks off them albums, it is a great album. Don't mind this one at all. Okay, it seems like this could have been a contractual album, I don't know what, but It's still a good album, even with the tracks we've already loved. I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 7.5. Okay, coming in at number 3, we have the sixth and final solo album from David Gates, and it came after a 13-year break of recording. This was released in 1994. Got David Gates on here, Rob Halcho's on the fiddle, Michael Haynes on flugelhorn, Larry Ketchell's back on the piano, Paul Leam on the drums, Brent Mason on guitar, Steve Nathan on the keyboards. We've got guest slide guitar from Leroy Pennell, Michael Rhodes on the bass, and Matt Rollins does some guest keyboarding. First track on this album is called The Avenue of Love. Love this song, really uplifting, solid stuff. Love is Always 17, one of them great tracks written by David. It's one of my favourite slower tracks that he has wrote in his solo career. Really good. Ordinary Man, fabulous song. Great to see him back after all these years. It was still be able to turn up with some great music, and that's one of them tracks. I Will Wait For You is a solid track. It's just typical David Gates Bread sound. And you think this is what Bread would have probably sounded like if they'd have stayed together and make records. It's got everything that you would expect in a Bread song, 1994 style. Save This Dance For Me. It's a little jaffer from David. After all these years, he still comes up with these really strong songs. My favourite track on this one is No Secrets in a Small Town. Nice rocky track. This is that obligatory rock track on the album, and it's pretty good. Heart Is All Over. I like that track as well. It's just a great track. I Don't Want to Share Your Love. Nothing. This is probably the weakest track on the album. It's not very inspiring. I don't know what went wrong with that one. I Can't Find Words to Say Goodbye definitely harks back to the glory days of Bread. Very strong song. Love that. Dear World, that's a solid enough track. Thanking You, Sweet Baby James. I love this song. It reminds me of something that you'd hear from James Taylor, actually. It's a really good song. Fine arrangement, fine lyrics. Great comeback album for David Gates. When you have that sort of big gap, he still got it. He still got it, and it's a great way to end his recording career, really, because he hasn't done anything since. I mean, God bless him. He's 81 now, and he deserved a nice retirement. So for this, I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. Okay, then, coming in at number 2, we have the second album, released in 1975, Never Let Her Go. Never Let Her Go is the opening track. Again, this could have ended up on a Bread album somewhere. I don't know how long this has been lying around. It's got all the elements you expect from a track from Bread. There's a lot of people playing on this one, so that's why we haven't got a list. It's quite a huge list of people playing, on a lot of session musicians, and but I think it's still got Larry and Mike on it. Angel, great rock track, great riffs in that, pretty good. Playing on My Guitar, another great song. Reminds me of, seems like the little brother of Guitar Man from Bread. Pretty good track. Watch Out. This has got a great solo in it. Love the crisp guitar sound that's on that track. Part-Time Love, one of these little ballads that David Gates did, and with Bread, very good track. Chain Me, Again, solid little track. It's not very long. Brilliant. Light of My Life. Great little rocker. We've got one of that little rock track on here. Solid. Someday. It's just something that, again, you don't know if this is Bread or a David Gates solo. It's that good. It's so similar to what he was doing in Bread, so pretty good. Greener Days. Love the melody on this. It's such a catchy tune. Nice arrangement. Strangers, one of the best vocals from David Gates ever. It's a fantastic song, great track. Great album, top to bottom, solid. It's got nice gentle rock, country, a little bit of poppy in there as well. It's such a chill out album, and I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.5. Okay, then we've got to number one. Number one is the Dutch solo debut album from David Gates, released in 1973, and it's just basically called First. On here we've got Larry Ketchnall, Mike Box, Jimmy Getzoff, Jimmy Gordon, Jim Horn, John Guerin, Larry Carlton and Louis Shelton, and Russ Cunnell play on this. First track on here is called Sail Around the World. It's very, very similar chord and arrangement to Make It With You, a Bread song. Pretty good. Next track is Sunday Rider. Now, if you remember, we said about a track on one of the other albums. This is the one. Can't remember what it's called now. Let's find it. Bear with me. Let's look about Starship. Where is it? Totally lost it. Yeah, it's the one of the Starship Ride. Sunday Rider. Very, very... Yeah, Starship Ride, that's it. Very, very similar arrangement, but this is the better one. This is a great track. It's got a great rock riff in it. Heavy, pretty good. Then we have a lovely song. Soap, I'll Use the... It's just a wonderful little song. Great writing from David. It's a superb, one of my favourite songs on this album. Then we get the Cloud Suite. This is just fantastic. Probably the best thing that David ever did or was involved with it, and that goes with his Bread stuff. Love that start with the effects of the wind and the rain, and then you get some superb keyboard work from Larry. It just builds up. This is his best vocal, and then you go into that really funky bit with that very 70s keyboard sound. It's the bit that they don't play on the radio, if it's on the radio. There's only one person I know that's ever played this all the way through, and that's Ken Bruce. It's a fantastic piece of work. Love it to bits, and it's my favourite track by David Gates, without a doubt. Then we get Help Is On The Way, another of them little great rock tracks. Solid track. And again, one of them tracks you don't know when you hear it, is this a Bread song or this is a David Gates solo song? It's that good. Do You Believe He's Coming? One of my favourites. I love the solo on this. It's just absolutely mind-blowing. Sight and Sound, again, one of them really uplifting, catchy songs. Really strong melody. Can't go wrong. And then the end album ends up with Laura Lee. Another great track. Jazzy guitar in this. That funky jazzy sound of the jazz guitar. It's a fantastic track to end the album. This album is just fantastic. It opens up with 4 very strong tracks. I'm not saying the other ones are bad, but when you open up with Sail Around the World, Sunday Rider, Soap, and the Cloud Suite, and that's four in, and then the album just continues on this vine. Great songs. I mean, it's just a fantastic album. I remember my dad getting this when it came out, and it was just fantastic. And it's been one of my favourite albums from the Bread daughter David Gates stable. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9 out of 10. Okay, well, again, bit of an obscure one, but that's what we're called, ranking the obscure. This is something that no people know much about. Check the tracks out in the playlist, because if you've never heard some of these tracks, you know, enlighten yourself. If you like the Eagles and you like your American soft rock, you're gonna love this. Okay, classic album today is pretty cool. We're sort of doing it sort of a Meatloaf thing again. We're going to be looking at the soundtrack of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I actually sat and watched it last night. It's great to watch again. It's just a fantastic bit of fantasy stuff. Some great performances on it. So we'll be looking at the soundtrack for that. So hope you join me for that one. Bye for now.